Time being 7 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, I'd like to start the meeting off with a moment of silence to honor the life of Queen Elizabeth II and to mourn her passing. Next item on the agenda is the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that the land that we gather on, that the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty, and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. Administration advises that there are no new amendments to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make any amendments? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Tedesco, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Seeing none. Tonight we have Aaron Orr here from PSD Citywide for a presentation regarding the management plan, the asset management plan. So whenever Aaron comes on. Welcome.
Hi there. Are we ready to get started then?
Yeah, if you'd like to start, go right ahead.
Okay, I will share my screen. I'm not able to share my screen. Would the host be able to provide me that permission? There you go. Okay. And we're able to see just the light blue slide here.
Yeah, it's up.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here to present the Township of Red Rock's Asset Management Plan. My name is Aaron Orr, and I'm an Asset Management Specialist at PSD Citywide. So I worked with your staff to develop a 150-page document that summarizes the state of the township's infrastructure, the current level of service, and your asset management strategies. What I will be presenting today is just a snapshot of a rather detailed document. Before I do begin, I want to thank your staff for their significant support in the development of this plan. Without their efforts, this wouldn't have been possible. So to understand the plan, we need to first provide a brief explanation of asset management. So asset management is all about the service you are providing through your infrastructure. These services bring your township to life. For example, the roads, bridges, and sidewalks provide the integral transportation services, and the underground mains, manholes, and treatment plants all contribute to the provision of water and wastewater services. The goal of asset management is to meet a required level of service in the most cost-effective manner through the management of assets for present and future customers. In this case, customers is the public. So this leads us to the concept of the levels of service. So an asset management plan describes the township's asset management strategy, but it also defines the current level of service. So the level of service is the main focus of this plan, as well as the Ontario regulation, which guides the development of this plan. The level of service can be defined as the coordinated activity of an organization to realize the value of its assets. In other words, it's an attempt to balance the cost to provide that service, the desired level of performance, and the risk that you're willing to tolerate. Now let's take a look at the regulation which guides municipal asset management programs in Ontario. So the asset management plan that we developed today is required under OREG 588/17, titled Asset Management Planning for Municipal Infrastructure. So there are several deadlines under this regulation. The first was in 2019. Every municipality in Ontario was required to adopt an asset management policy. And the next two deadlines are in 2022 and 2024. So every municipality in Ontario is required to adopt an asset management plan. The asset management plan must include the following: the current level of service, the asset inventory analysis, current performance of your assets, the life cycle costs and activities, and the impacts of growth. The difference between the 2022 and 2024 asset management plans relate mostly to the asset categories that are to be included. So the 2022 asset management plan must include core assets. Those are your roads, bridges, stormwater, water, and wastewater systems. And the 2024 AMP must include core and non-core. Non-core typically includes buildings, vehicles, machinery and equipment, land improvement assets, and the like. The AMP that we have today for the township meets the 2024 deadline. So we have both core and non-core assets included. The final deadline in the Ontario regulation is in 2025. So in 2025, every municipality must adopt a renewed asset management plan that includes your proposed levels of service. So in addition to defining your current levels of service, the municipality will need to define what their desired levels of service are and determine the life cycle activities and costs required to achieve those proposed levels of service. Luckily, we have several years to plan ahead for this version of the asset management plan. So let's turn to the plan that we have today. So the data and information in this plan is based on 2021 year end. The plan describes the current state of the infrastructure and asset management practices. It also includes what changes can be made to improve the state of your infrastructure and asset management practices, and what is the township's financial capacity to meet long-term capital requirements. So the asset categories that we included in the plan include those that you see on the screen. So the road network, bridges and culverts, storm network, buildings and facilities, vehicles, machinery and equipment, land improvements, and the water and wastewater network. On this slide, we have the total replacement cost for the asset inventory for the township. So the replacement cost is the sum cost of replacing all of the assets that you own. The Township of Red Rock has a total replacement cost value of $85.3 million. So this is a replacement cost per household of $187,000 and a per capita value of around $95,000. As you can see, the highest value asset category is the sanitary network, followed by the buildings and facilities and the water network. 85% of the inventory has a replacement cost that is based on user-defined pricing. This means that 85% of your inventory has accurate and up-to-date pricing, and the other 15% is based on historical costs that are inflated using consumer price index tables. The latter may not be entirely accurate and are subject to change as the price of goods and materials change, of course. The next slide we have is the condition of the assets in your inventory. So this graph shows the condition per asset category. We have found that 63% of your inventory is in poor and very poor condition, and 60% of your inventory likely needs to be replaced in the next 10 years or so. However, I do want to highlight that these conditions are not likely entirely reflecting the true condition of your assets. So the majority of your inventory has a condition that is entirely based on age, around 75%. This means that we do not know the true working condition of these assets. We simply have an assumption of the condition based on the current age and the expected useful life of the asset. Another detail to note is the wastewater network here. So it shows the sanitary network being in mostly poor condition. It has an average condition of 15% out of 100 here, but this does not include the new wastewater treatment plant. And that's because this data is from 2021 and the wastewater treatment plant became in service in 2022. So this is the graph that you see in the plan, but there are footnotes and some language that kind of clarifies this new detail. And it notes that the new wastewater treatment plant, which would have a nearly 100% condition, results in an average condition for the entire sanitary network of 92%. That's because it's a very high value asset of $26 million. So generally, what this graph does show is that you have an aging inventory, like most other municipalities in Ontario, and a lot of your assets are older and in need of repair and replacement. The information in this asset management plan and in the asset management software can support your staff in their efforts to assess risk and better prioritize capital projects. The next slide that we have here allows us to take a look at your capital requirements. So the annual capital requirement is the amount of money that you would need to invest annually to replace failed assets on time. Red Rock's average annual requirement for the entire portfolio is $2.3 million. Here we have a lot of information in a single graph. The graph displays the average 5-year capital requirement for the next 80 years. So the average 5-year annual requirement is 11.5 million. The first bar shows the backlog. This is the amount of money required to replace assets that have already gone beyond their expected useful life. The rest of the bars show the capital requirement in 5-year increments. So each asset category is also color-coded to allow you to see which assets make up the capital requirements in each bar. You may notice that there are some hikes in the capital requirements around the years 2027 and 2042. So the first peak in 2027, that is actually your wastewater treatment plant. So it's shown as needing to be renewed in that time frame because that would be when the asset reaches 0% condition. And since you have been more proactive, you've replaced the asset sooner than that time frame. The next hike that you see is in 2042, and it's caused mostly by a bridge replacement, which is a pretty high valued asset. So it's important to note that the annual requirements are not set in stone at all. They can change with the refinement of replacement costs, the estimated useful lives of the assets, and the condition assessments as well. So the next slide we have is just a summary of the annual capital requirements and infrastructure deficit based on the information provided. So we have a total annual requirement for all assets of 2.3 million. For tax funded assets, that's a total of 1.44 million. And for rate funded assets, it's a total annual requirement of 845,000. So the funding that is made available for the capital projects for these assets is a total of 340,000. That is 290,000 for tax funded assets and 50,000 for rate funded assets. This leaves us with a total annual capital deficit of around 1.95 million. This is 1.15 million for tax funded assets and 795,000 for rate funded assets. So the tax funded assets are around 20% funded and the rate funded assets are 6% funded. This annual requirement in this analysis does not include operating and maintenance costs. It's only capital costs, and it does not include considerations for growth. Furthermore, it's very important to note that this analysis only includes sustainable funding sources to determine the funding that is available. So sustainable funding sources include money transferred from taxes and rates, the Canada Community Building Fund, previously known as the Gas Tax Fund, and the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, or OSIF. So this means that there are no one-time grants or transfers that are included in this analysis at all. And this is in part because the regulation requires only sustainable funding sources to be used for financial analysis. Now, the next slide here is the financial strategy that is recommended. This is recommended from our financial consulting team, and it's based on the information that was provided above. So the recommendations are divided based on the funding source. So all tax funded assets are combined, and then water and wastewater are viewed separately as they have unique rates that fund the system. So for all assets, we are looking at a 20-year period to achieve full funding. That is to achieve full funding that would breach the funding gap that we saw in the slide before. So for tax funded assets, we would recommend an annual tax increase of 2.9%. And for the water network, we would recommend an annual rate increase of 4.8%. And for wastewater, we would recommend an increase of 8.5% annually. It is, again, very important to note that both sustainable and one-time grants and transfers will continue to be essential sources of revenue for investment in capital infrastructure. And any adjustments to taxes and rates should be supplemented with project prioritization and evaluation of the desired level of service. So with that, we have reached the final slide of the presentation. So included in this asset management plan are several recommendations. Some are very specific to the asset networks, and others are broader to support the advancement of the township's asset management program. So the asset management program is the asset management plan, is a living document, and it requires consistent revisions and updates. The Ontario regulation actually requires a revision and update of the data every 2 years or so. So we would recommend that the township continue to gather and enhance the asset inventory data. Specifically, there are some assets that require further componentization and to be broken down into more segments. We recommend that you continue to gather assessed condition for all of your asset categories. This AMP would be a little bit more reflective of the true condition if we had a higher rate of assessed condition. We recommend the evaluation and updating of life cycle strategies and replacement costs. So identifying some proactive life cycle costs for all of your asset categories, especially your high valued assets, evaluating capacity to deliver those life cycle strategies, reviewing the strategies to include comprehensive project costs, and reviewing continuously updating your replacement costs so that they are accurate and up to date. The final recommendation is related to the level of service. So these need to be continuously evaluated to collect the current level of service for all of your assets every 2 years, but to also start discussing the proposed levels of service that need to be defined in 2025. Now, that is all I have for today. I want to thank you for your time and give you the opportunity to ask any questions.
Do any members of council have questions regarding the presentation? Councillor Muir?
Hey, Aaron, just a quick, you mentioned the assets are based on age, not the actual current state. So that being said, some of the items that we have, like if we reevaluate this in 6 to 8 months after, a bunch of preventative maintenance has been done, this could put us in a better position then. So I'm pro preventative maintenance. So do you have like an ETA of how many, like how far can we push this back if we start a preventative maintenance program in the next 6 months? Like how far can we push this? Is there a recommendation based on if you start this now and fix all of these assets, obviously you didn't do the conditions, but if you look at the age of them, hey, start in the rec center, start doing this, this, and this. Do you have a breakdown of that in the large report of recommendations of area where to start?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Mayor. There aren't any specific recommendations about life cycle strategies and how to improve each separate asset. Instead, what we have is a summary of the current details of your inventory. So in the asset management plan, you will see a more detailed summary of each asset category broken down into segments. So yes, you'll see each building broken down into the category so that you'll be able to prioritize which assets are the most at risk or the lowest condition and need to be prioritized in your project planning. I think that improving the condition is a very long road ahead. It's not something that can necessarily be changed in a year's time, but slowly increasing the capital budget would be a fantastic way to slowly improve the condition of your assets through life cycle strategies and, like you said, those proactive activities.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Tedesco.
Aaron, does this take into account the possibilities of, we know our environmental situation is going rather crazy, but situations such as forest fires, like what happened in Lytton in BC, or floods that take away infrastructures like a bridge or things of that sort. Does that take those kind of things into account? Because something like a forest fire could just literally wipe us right off the map.
Mm-hmm. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, we do have some risk considerations. So in the plan, we have a risk section for each asset category. Some of it is quantitative, but some of it is also qualitative. So we're just noting through several workshops with your staff, some risks that are a little bit more difficult to quantify, like a forest fire. So for some of the assets, we did note climate change or environmental impacts. That would be some flooding for roads and bridges. Those can be pretty important and impactful. There are other risks, such as flooding as well for the storm network. But most of those are not necessarily fully integrated into the quantitative risk matrix, and instead they are verbally included in the plan.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor McDonald.
Aaron, I just have a quick question on the bridges and culverts. On the state of the infrastructure condition chart that you provided, it says that the bridges and culverts are in the fair condition. And I know that we've been having bridge issues, so I just don't understand how that could be under fair when we know it needs major work done to it. Was that like included in that, or is there a note on the full strategy?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, the bridges and culverts, the condition is taken from the most recent OSIM report, so the formal engineering analysis that is done. And the overall average condition of the bridges may not reflect that individual bridges have different condition concerns. So it may not show immediately that there are some bridges that have different components that require replacement. A way to improve how the plan displays that would be to further componentize the assets to be able to show a condition for each different part of the bridge that requires replacement. So right now in the plan, we do, however, include specific amounts of money that were required and recommended from those OSIM reports. So in your software, you would be able to pull out exactly how much money is required annually for the bridges to replace critical components. So perhaps just the abutments or the railings of the bridge, since it's a little bit more rare to replace an entire bridge all at once.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Aaron, for your report. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to accept the presentation from PSD Citywide regarding the draft asset management plan and direct administration to review the draft asset management plan to be brought back to council for final approval? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Aaron's okay to go. I just wanted to speak to a couple of things on the asset management plan. So we did share with council recently the official draft document. I believe it's 148 pages. We'll have time now to go through that document. What I would like to say regarding the asset management plan, is it can be a scary document, but it's a scary document for everybody that's going through this process. It is a time frame. There is times set on your assets. It's a general concept that it's a one size fits all theory for the city of Toronto and the township of Red Rock. We all operate under the same guidelines. Again, in saying this, and Aaron and I talk about this all the time, those numbers where they're making projections based on increases, again, those are decisions of council. There's not one community I feel that would be able to fully do what an asset management plan is calling for based on the criteria that's used. It's a guideline for us to use. Preventive maintenance becomes a big part of it for sure. And then it gives us that guideline to prioritize what assets we can invest in, because funding is only, it's scarce. I mean, let's be honest. If the province funded us to the ability to take care of all of our assets, we wouldn't be having discussions based on numbers that show you how much you need to put into your assets. So it's a bit of a scary document, but it's the same document that everybody I've spoken to, and I sit with a lot of the other communities that are going through it. And we'll bring that back in that format for council to review now over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. The open and closed session minutes of the last regular meeting, September 6th, are at items 5.1 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the open session minutes? No. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the closed session minutes? No. May I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the open and closed session minutes at items 5.1? Councilor Tedesco. Councilor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, first matter, item 6.1 is information purposes only relating to an update from DSAB. Do any members of the council have any questions? Okay, seeing none. 6.2, information purposes only relating to the Thunder Bay District Municipal League Conference agenda. So this conference has been rescheduled due to low registration. Unfortunately, there was only about 30 people that had signed up for it, and you need minimum of 50. So they're going to postpone it and try again, hopefully in December. 6.3, information purposes only relating to the federal election district rehabilitation. Do any members of the council have any questions? Councilor Tedesco?
I think it's really unfortunate that the commission has decided to reduce the number of ridings in our area. I've been in contact with the MP for our area and the MPP objecting to it.
Yes, and that's we do have a resolution on the table following this recommendation from NOMA. I think a resolution this week has been on every council table in the Northwest here. So that it's definitely important. We don't, in my opinion, we don't want to lose a federal representative at that level. Yes.
Okay, 6.4 is discussion on purposes relating to the federal election district rehabilitation. We have a resolution on the table. The same resolution is also being passed at other municipalities in Northern Ontario. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none. I have a mover and seconder for motion to pass. Pass the resolution. Councilor Muir. I don't have to read it out, do I? It's quite lengthy. Okay. Councilor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. 6.5, information purposes only relating to the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. An event is taking place at the Nippigan Community Center on September 30th. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none. 7.1 are the minutes of the Red Rock Public Library Board meeting on June 14th. As you know, the board takes the summer off. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the minutes? Councillor Park, Councillor Muir, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. 8.1 is a report from the Director of Operations. I'll Blair up. Do any members of council have any questions of Mr. Westerman? Councillor Tedesco.
There's mention of the Electrical Safety Association having written a compliance order. Are we okay with everything now?
He's going to be here tomorrow actually to do an inspection on the work that we've done. I had a contractor from Thunder Bay come in, perform the work, and we did all the excavating. So it's all complete. It just needs to be inspected.
Also, I want to note point number 6, final day of work for summer students. Congratulations for telling them that they've done an excellent job. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's a good bunch of kids. Pleasure to work with them.
Councillor Muir.
Blair, just a question with regards to the hydrants. So all the hydrants in the municipality, are they all functioning? Absolutely everyone's functioning? Okay. Do we have that documented, like just a chart laid out, everything, inspection times and repairs? Do we have that all laid out so we know?
Well, we have documented flushes and also winter hydrant checks that we document.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, we're going to actually be flushing next week. So that's part of the flushing plan, is to operate these hydrants, make sure they're functional.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Blair.
So September 26th is the plan. Is that still the date for the paving on Brompton, Upper Brompton?
Yeah, as far as I know, that was the last word I got from GML.
Okay, I've been contacted by a few residents that are looking to get their driveways paved. Is there somebody they can contact or wait till they're down?
Yeah, that's probably going to have to be between the resident and the contractor that does the
Okay,
paving.
because there is some other areas in town, like other residents, so it's not just on Brompton. There are
Yeah.
people that are looking to get their driveway paved, so I guess once we see them, we'll just I'll give them their that contact
I can
info.
probably help you with that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Tedesco?
Blair, do you have any idea who the paving person is?
Tyrannus, I believe.
Tyrannus? Okay, so perhaps if we could provide a contact information with Tyrannus, they could just, as you say, contact them themselves. Thank you.
And Blair might not even be aware of this because I got this late today, but they may be delayed an additional few days with the paving. They are running, and they jumped jobs. They left Red Rock, went to complete a job in Nippigan, and waiting on third-party contractors and paving. So if it doesn't happen the week of the 26th, it will happen the following Monday. So, but we can definitely get you that contact information on paving.
Councillor Muir?
So just a caution to that, if we start to get like tons of rain and everything gets super saturated, we start paving over that, it's gonna, so we're just got to be mindful if we're going to get a bunch of rain here and then start paving over top of soaked ground, it's just going to freeze and start cracking as soon as the snow hits. Getting a little late in the season.
Yeah, and to this point, they're still well within their projected estimated time of completion. But so noted, and was so noted on our end. That's been one thing we've pushed for, that this project can't be well, maybe we'll get back to it. It's
Right.
It has to be completed, and the contractor is well aware of that. And even by a 4 or 5 day delay, if that happens, they're still well within their projected timeline to finish.
Yeah, just watch that rain big time.
Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Park. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, item 8.2 is report from the fire chief. Do any members of council have questions of Mr. Petrie? Councillor Tedesco.
Ryan, I noticed in your callouts, you've got July 26th as a gas line break. Ryan, is that like a gas line break that happens from, say, somebody who's moving their gas pork barbecue, or is this in ground? The reason I mention it is where I live, every time buses go by, the ground shudders, and there has been work done underground there by whatever the company is that does it. And there's been gas fumes every so often. So is it that kind of a gas break, or is it like a household type gas break?
So this was a gas break on Brompton during the construction on this specific day. Maybe you're getting a little bit of vapor, some smell just from one of the valves, maybe, because sometimes they do let off gas here and there. But this was an actual break in the line.
Ryan, can you give us a little update about FireCon or how it went? I do see we have.
FireCon was good. We had 7 members attend. We had 1 member that took Essentials 1, so that's the first part of this certification. We had 2 other members take heavy extrication. Another member attended the regular extrication. I also had 1 member take NFPA 1002, which is a pump op course, which is also a certification course for the new standards. Everybody did great. Everybody performed good, and now I just got them coming back here teaching the members here at our department, and some from Nipigon as well have come over. They're out there right now doing some training too. So whatever they've learned at FireCon, they bring it back to the department, and they train our members on what they've learned.
Great, thank you. Councillor Tedesco.
Ryan, congratulations on that. I just want to point out fire prevention. I know you're going to address this a little bit later on, but October is Fire Prevention Month, and the fire department has a program of selling the smoke detectors with carbon monoxide services as well. I really would strongly recommend that everybody in the community look at making sure that they've got these items. You're selling them at a very discount rate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so like I actually just got confirmation last week that we got the grant from Enbridge. So there was 2 grants that I applied for. One was for the smoke alarms, and the other one was for training materials. We got the grant for Project Zero grant. So we are getting 72 combi alarms donated from Enbridge. So we will be doing a fire prevention, but we have to wait until late October to do a full event with Enbridge present. So we will have these combi alarms available for members in the community that need them or would like them, no charge. This is a grant from Enbridge to make our community safe. So like I said, we'll have all these things present for Fire Prevention Week, and then we will also be doing an event closer to end of October, early November.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Councillor Muir. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, 8.3, we have a report from the Community Development Officer. Welcome, Ashley. Okay, anyone have any questions or comments on Ashley's report? Counselor Tedesco?
Comment, project is on schedule and within budget. Congratulations. You must have really brought the whip out.
So for the ICIP green one, that's one of the few projects where things have gone incredibly well. We were actually under budget and ahead of schedule. So we had a little bit of flexibility with the closing up of the project. They were kind of waiting on a couple contractors to be available to wrap things up. So that's moving along.
Oh, Counselor Muir?
Glad to see the Golden Club van that's been sent in. I'm glad that's happening. Can you just speak a little bit on the community safety and well-being plan?
Yes, so that is a requirement that each community has. It's voluntary for Indigenous communities. However, Nipigon, Red Rock, and Dorian have grouped together to create a joint community safety and well-being plan because we all share the same resources. So it's kind of redundant to have the same individuals, regional organizations sitting on a committee for each community. You're asking the same individuals to show up to 3 meetings and be on 3 committees where we can consolidate our efforts and make it a lot easier for each of our communities. We're also partnering with the Red Rock Indian Band, so we have a member of their council that is sitting on this this initial committee to provide input and feedback. So we're at the very beginning stages of just a representative from Dorian, myself from Red Rock, Nipigon, and Red Rock Indian Band to speak with the officers that are assisting in the development of this. And we're putting together the list of who to reach out to from the regional service organizations and community members to be on this advisory committee. And then we start to develop the plans. We're at the very beginning stages, but we're making progress.
Great. Counselor Tedesco?
The community safety plan, in the future, will it also, and this is my bugbear, will this also include natural disasters such as forest fires, rains, floods, windstorms, and things of that sort? Will it address that at some point?
It's more of the social well-being of residents. It can take that into consideration if it does come up as a major priority, that it is something that the residents are worried about with their own safety. Then that does come into play. But so far in the research, when it comes to safety and well-being, it's more with regards to so availability of social services, transportation, level of crime within the community, resources that are available in that regard.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments on Ashley's report? Counselor McDonald.
Ashley, the recreation rehab project, what about the engineering? How's that going?
We are still in the engineering stage. That is a little behind schedule. We did have someone come down from one of the architecture firms come and take a look at the municipal building portion of the project. We still haven't received the design reports from them. So we're continuing to follow up with them and find out exactly what's going on and where these documents are. So it's a little bit of, that one is behind schedule.
Any other questions or comments on Ashley's report? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Councillor Perk, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thank you, Ashley. Eight point four is a report on administrative activity. Any members of council have questions of Mr. Figlamini? Seeing none, maybe you just want to give a little highlight?
Yeah, sure. I guess I can start with the NWMO did reach back to me today. They're willing to come and speak to our council on the 17th of October as a delegation. So we're just in the process of putting that together, so that will happen. And I'll reach back out to them to confirm that tomorrow. But the 17th of October. We have had many concerns, obviously, on the bridge, the bump that we all hit every day. I did reach out to MTO and have numerous discussions, but what I can give as an update is that they will be doing a temporary repair on this bridge. The best answer they can give me right now is it's happening this fall. Pushing hard for a date, and that's the best I can get, but it is happening this fall. And with a projected, what they're telling me is an overall look at the complete duration of 628 in 2024. So we're pushing hard for that temporary repair. I mean, it's going to happen. The best they can give me is this fall, so I'm expecting that anytime. The grand opening, initially discussed about on the 20th of September. Sorry, we did have some trouble with scheduling with our local ministers. What we are looking at right now is working with their schedules. We're still very optimistic and hopeful that it'll happen late October, early November of this year. As a general note, we continue to work very close with the Spear North EMS situation. We'll keep the community as well as council updated as that progresses. Again, we continue to monitor the election process in the Township of Red Rock. That's closing in on us. There is a note for the community that there will be a third-party hosted municipal candidates night hosted by the Nipigon Rotary. That will be the 27th of September at the high school, and it's scheduled to start at 6:30.
Any questions or comments on Mark's report? Councillor McDonald.
Mark, did you just say that in 2024, they're doing a complete overhaul of Highway 620?
They're looking at it.
Okay,
It's,
I just wanted to-
it's yeah, I'm sorry. It's projected in the plans. And that's why, because when I was pushing for the bump on the bridge, I was also pushing for, I mean, there's other issues on the highway. I mean, a couple of the corners as you're going around and that. So I think that's the best they could give me. They're addressing the temporary repair on the bridge and the bump this fall, and looking at some kind of a scope change for that highway as early as 2024.
Councillor Muir.
Filling that with snow is a good temporary fix. So just the BDO auditors are in Red Rock. How's that going?
So we had a BDO here last week. They were here for the whole week, Monday to Thursday, I believe. It went well. We're still going through our audited financials for 2021, which isn't off schedule by that much, but we're optimistic that we should have that done here within the next couple of weeks, at which point we can tie that up and provide those documents.
Any other questions or comments on Mark's report? Seeing none. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Councillor Muir, Councillor Park, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Eight point 5 is a declaration of surplus properties. Do any members of council have any questions of Mr. Figlamini? Seeing none. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to declare the following property as surplus? Part 3, reference plan 55R 10890, Baker Road, Red Rock, Ontario. Councillor Burke. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Eight point six, there's a report of sale of property to Gregorio Developments, Inc. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Figlamini? Councillor Muir.
Did I want to comment or are you? Yeah, okay, yes. Yeah, I certainly can. So if this is passed at this table this evening, that is De Gregorio Developments Incorporated as division of Bruno's Contracting. The sale of that property, which is explained as Part 3, reference Plan 55R10890. In essence, will be sold by the township to De Gregorio Developments based on this report and this number. So again, it's good news. It's a little bit of cleanup based on the actual parts and kind of first stage of the project moving forward. So yeah, if it's the will of council to pass this resolution tonight, then that property will be sold to De Gregorio Developments.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to sell the following property to De Gregorio Development, Inc. in the amount of 88,500, Part 3, reference Plan 55R10890, Baker Road, Red Rock? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. 8.7, information purposes in the report on the press release made with 1890717 Ontario Inc. Do members of council have any questions? Councillor Muir.
Just good work. Honestly, just good work, everyone. It's been a long time. Good work.
Yeah, thank you. As you can see, this dispute, if that's what you want to call it, has been settled and paid in full with the current owners of the mill property. I agree. I think it's been a long battle. It's been a lot of work. I can only speak to the last year and a half, but I know how much work it's been personally for me and my staff, as well as council. What I would like to bring to council at this point is I do have a request from the owners to have a delegation of council to meet council on that. I've given them the opportunity, if it is the will of council, to provide a delegation and some of their thoughts and plans on the property at our next council meeting on the 3rd of October. So that's what we're looking at. Again, it's and I'll put my glasses on to read the number, but it's a full payment of 2.154240-05 has been deposited into the account of the Township of Red Rock. This includes all payments owed by 1890717 Ontario Incorporated up until December 31st of 2022. So again, it's good news. Well received and well needed money back in the coffers of the Township of Red Rock.
Councillor Tedesco.
Mark, what years does that 2,150,000? What years does that cover? From the time that those people took it over?
Well, that would cover any outstanding amounts from, I believe it's 2014. So anything outstanding and current at that point. Obviously, there was a court order for I think it was 1.9 million, and that took us to 2019, which did not include it, or which also included penalties and interest till 2021. So what we pushed hard for in this deal was to bring it to a current state. So the next time we go to 1890717 Ontario Incorporated for tax dollars will be the first quarter of 2023. So
Was there any outstanding from previous owners?
this is the amount paid by 1890717. So I mean, that encompasses anything owed on the properties owned by that company at that time. So
Thank you for that. And I believe we don't have a problem sitting with them now that they're fully paid, as we would not sit with them before that.
yeah, no, and I will report that to them, and I think they'll be very happy with that news. So I'll get that scheduled for our next council meeting.
Okay, 8.7 information. Oh, there's no new business, old business. Bylaw confirming proceedings of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councilor McDonald. Councilor Park. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. 7:56, there's no other business to attend to. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.